Friday Night Lights means it's time for the final score. Your home for hard hits, big plays, and the Basin's #1 football show. The Final Score, brought to you by these sponsors.
Looking to pass the ball quick, and he does. It's a pitch. Oh, you gotta be kidding me! There's Martinez all the way down. Touchdown, Ford! Golden tornado! It's the hook and ladder.
Well, welcome into the final score. We're going to get to that in a little bit later on the show, but Ben Peck with Aaron Reynolds. Now, you may have noticed early on the season we've had these fantastic helmets on display, but we're finally able to put them to some use tonight.
Yeah, so excited, and lots of excitement specifically in Midland and Odessa.
Yes.
The 6A football season kicked off in the Tall City tonight, and we had some pretty good matchups this week.
Yeah, each of these teams really giving themselves a tough challenge to start the night, and Midland Lee benefiting from the home crowd in our game of the week.
Rebels' first game of the year, and they get to play it at home out at Grande Communications Stadium, taking on Amarillo High.
The Sandies, baby.
6A football back in the Basin. The Sandies. Such an interesting mascot.
Big Sandy. Look out.
Lee fans welcoming back to the Mikey Serrano show. First drive for the Rebs. Serrano hits Michael Vales for the slant and for the touchdown. Rebels take an early 7-0 lead and get on the board first. Then on the first Amarillo High possession, Sandy's with the ball, quick screen to David Lemons, and he is gone. Down the sideline, Amarillo High responds 7-7 early on in the first quarter. But Midland Lee would get the ball back, and they would try to capitalize. Mikey hitting Christian Romero deep, and he ends up scoring. No one close to him. Rebels go up 14-7, back and forth here early on. Lee gets the ball back. That's Shamar Davis making the big catch here. What an arm on Mikey Serrano to start off this game. First down Rebs, and they would punch it in later on in that drive. Sandy's get the ball back. Amarillo quarterback Joseph Counterman lofts one up for David Lemons. That's his second score of the game. But the Rebels would get it back.
I can't catch my breath watching
I know,
this.
just back and forth. Our 4 game of the week reporter, Jake Ice, said probably running all over the place. Romero for a contested catch for the touchdown. 30-19, Midland Lee at the half. You know, Coach Hartman loves to see that. And the Rebels end up getting it done 54-40. So Midland Lee starts off the season with a win over Amarillo High. We're going to send it out to our game of the week reporter, Jake Ice, who caught up with the winners after the game.
Ben, Aaron, welcome to Grande Communications Stadium. I got the man himself, Clint Hartman, here after a great 2-score win over Amarillo High tonight. Coach, I got to ask you, before we start talking about football, it seems like everybody's talking not about football. How did you keep your guys focused, ready to go to play this first game with everything going on?
Well, like I said earlier the other day, that we're going to love them through this. And then, the big thing for us is, I think right now, if people think you're on one side of an issue, then the other side gets mad. I don't think that's the way it should be. I think everybody should be respected. We've talked to our kids about it. I think they've grown up through this. I think they've kind of tightened their walls, because they've sat there in that locker room and talked about, we love each other, and we want to be the Midland Rebels. And so my kids are, it's, I think, the greatest example of being in America is a football game. Everybody up there is pulling for the same team, and teams, everybody's blocking and doing those things. And so they love it. I think I am disappointed that at this time we're having to talk about other things instead of we should be talking about McCollum Young, how many he had 150 yards, and Shamar Davis had 100 yards, and then Christian Miller had 13 catches over 100 yards. Mikey threw for 240. I mean, those are the things we should be talking about, and celebrating these kids that are having to come back through an extremely trying time of COVID and you know, the first pandemic since 1918, virtual learning. I mean, the politicians, nobody likes anybody. I mean, I think that, like I said, I mean this. We need to live like a locker room. We need to start loving each other a little more, and we certainly need to start talking about things that are positive instead of negative.
A message of unity when things are so divisive, Coach. I'm sure everybody can appreciate that. You got some good stats, guys. I'd love to get in touch with them because all I can see conceptually is you guys scoring touchdowns, but you can put numbers to it. Talk about all the guys that were hitting home runs tonight, but even taking up those short yardage when you needed it late in the game. Talk about this offense.
I think, you know, you start with the offensive line. They did a heck of a job. You know, they packed it in there early, and we're going to stop the run. So we threw the ball, you know, and Christian made some amazing catches. I think, like I said, I don't get it. I've had a bunch of Division I receivers, Loic Fungin and others, and he's it. I mean, like UTEP, New Mexico State, I have no clue why nobody's coming out here. And then you look at McCollum Young as a junior rushing up for over 150. Shamar Davis rushed for 100 yards. You know, then you talk about finding a way to gut up and win at the end, you know, and had some big plays that we gave up and some busts, and we got to fix those. But, you know, we got 24 hours to win, and I mean, look, enjoy this. And then, you know, we had Division I middle linebacker out today too with Elijah Nunez, so we'll get him back next week. So we're happy where we're at, but not satisfied.
You want to say it?
Say the Rebels are back.
Rebels are back.
The Rebels are back, baby.
Coach, welcome back to Friday Night Football. Thanks again for taking us. Ben, Aaron, back to you.
Well, you knew it was only a matter of time. The Rebels are, in fact, back, Aaron. Well, the Rebels' arch rival Permian, they were trying to defend their home turf last night against the Abilene Cooper Cougars. Let's check out that game. Permian's number 48 in the preseason rankings. They're jacked up for this game. Caden Bay's getting all pumped up before the kickoff. But early on in the first quarter, Aaron, listen, Abilene Cooper, they're nothing to mess with. And this was all Cougars early on. Less than 2 minutes into the game, Aiden Thompson spotting Brian Spotwood down the sideline. Cougars, Cooper on the board first. And then 3 minutes later, here comes Coop once again. Another big pass. This time Thompson to Alejandro Martinez. And just, I felt the draft as he ran by right there. 14-0, Cougars cruising, but Permian, this is a little, I don't know, this is bad memories for Aaron as a Chiefs, well, good memories as a Chiefs fan. I was going to say, a la Chiefs-Texans, Permian falls behind big in the first quarter, but here's Taryn Limwell setting up a touchdown, makes it 14-6. Marion Garrett with a pick six to make it 14-13. Then later Harper Terry, touchdown pass shy, Stephen Deary. And Permian, after they were down big, they had the lead after the first quarter, 2014. So I guess there's your Texans-Chiefs analogy. But, this 47-35, actually, I believe the final. But either way, win for Permian on that opening night, Thursday at Ratliff Stadium.
Midland High also starting their season this evening on the road, though, taking on Wichita Falls the Ryder Raiders. I like that.
Rojo.
Ryder ranked number 6 in 5A Division II. Midland High with the ball to start things off, and this drive lasting nearly 5 minutes. Ben Lazy Walls to Brian Zeg Perez, 7-yard touchdown, 7-6 Riders. Just barely trailing for Midland High. Bulldogs with the ball again. Walls, 12-yard touchdown to Daryl Goodley here. 14-13 Riders. So a close game to start off this matchup. Then toward the end of the game, this one didn't necessarily go as planned for Midland High following this first quarter. Here at the end of the game, Cordova Matthews with an interception.
Nice defensive play there for the Bulldogs.
Midland High ends up losing this matchup 42-13. So Bulldogs started off nicely, didn't necessarily end as planned, so the Bulldogs start off the season 0-1.
Well, we mentioned Class 6A and others dealing with this delayed start because of course, the ongoing pandemic. But Permian able to get its game in yesterday, as we saw the two teams from the Tall City in action tonight as well.
And unfortunately for Odessa High, the Broncos will have to wait at least one more week before kicking off their season.
Yes, their game originally scheduled for tonight for OHS postponed after Broncos player tested positive for COVID-19 against Lubbock Monterey. Both teams will try to reschedule that for a later date. Several other games also called off this week as well. Oklahoma's homecoming with Merkel. Fort Sand suspending all extracurricular activities through next week, which included the Buffs game with Reagan County tonight.
Alpine also moving to remote learning for the next 2 weeks after a student tested positive for COVID-19. Fighting Bucks were scheduled to face Kermit tonight and McCamey next Friday. Both of those games canceled for the time being.
I believe McCamey did find another game for next week, though, so good news for the Badgers. Believe it or not, though, even with this, we still don't have time to get everything off our chest. If you want to check out Final Score Overtime, really recommend it. A lot of previews, recaps on all the madness week in, week out, every week on yourbasin.com.
And starting this week as well, Taps Midland Christian in action for their first game of the year tonight.
And our athlete of the week out of Andrews, he balled out with 8 touchdowns. We'll see how he did in our other 4A schools fared next on The Final Score.
You're watching The Final Score, brought to you by these sponsors.
Welcome back to The Final Score. As we've told you, some teams kicking off the first time tonight, others have been at it for a while.
Yeah, and not just 6A, of course, Taps returning as well. Now, for the most part, those teams that are starting and the teams that they've been playing, that separated for the most part, but not the case for Midland Christian.
Yeah, Mustangs opening up with a doozy. MCS hosting number 3 from 3A Division 1. Luckily, this game was at least on their home turf.
Yes, which has been a good thing in this series. Wall and Midland Christian, the home team usually does pretty well. Wall is that number 3 team in 3A D1. They were at Gordon Autry Field, and here come the Mustangs for the first time this season. River Rodriguez, Y.E. River to Christopher Brazel. Up the left sideline, tiptoes in for the touchdown. Mustang coach is really happy to see their kids on the field and making big plays. With the ball back once again. Oh, quick shift, and that's Brad Evans with the ball. Punch it in right there. Nicely done by that O-line. Midland Christian up 14-0. Mustangs in rhythm, and they would get the ball back later. And man, that band looks like they're in rhythm too. Rodriguez, a fade for Brazel. And he brings it in for a touchdown. My goodness, 21-0. Wall showing a little bit of signs of life before the half. Gabe Haskins scrambling, and he does a little Patrick Mahomes jump pass to Kaya Herbert. 21-7 Mustangs at the half, but they go on to get the win in this one. 40-6, a decisive win again over a really good team for the Mustangs.
Man, I love these Thursday night ball games. Big Spring 3-0 to start off this year. They're on the road.
You see, they're week 5, week 1. I mean, depends on your perspective.
Right. We just don't really know. Lubbock High, Westerners, Big Spring on the road.
The battle of the black and gold.
First drive of the game here. Quarterback Brandon Smith gonna hit no Tiarina, and just kidding.
Looks like
take this one.
I think we're jumping ahead a little bit here. I think jumping the horn on this one.
It's still black and gold, team.
It is still black and gold. It is still black and gold. Let's go ahead and take a look at this final score. Big Spring, they unfortunately, again, 3-0 for the first time since 2014. Lubbock High, good win for the Westerners, 48-12, and they were able to get that win at Lowry Field.
First loss of the season for the Sears.
Yes. All right, another Lubbock team, this time making the trip down to Andrews. Lubbock is kind of struggling, I think, more than most teams would expect. But Andrews, let me tell you about E.J. Lopez, our athlete of the week, the Built Ford Top Player of the Week for Class 4A. He had 8 touchdowns, Aaron, last week against Seminole. So let's see how much offense the Mustangs could muster up today. Early on, though, it's Estacado in control. First drive, Antoine Jones taking the handoff to the right side, nearly punches it in. But later on that drive, 4th and goal from the 1. TJ Steele direct snap, and they would convert on that 4th down to make it 6-0 Estacado early. Andrews' offense taking off literally here. Oh my goodness, Brock Tijerina leaping over the defender. First down, Andrews, and then later on that drive, Lopez looking for his favorite target, Marquise Lawrence. Look at this catch. Oh, there wasn't a window there, folks, but Andrews does take the lead there, and they would win this one. Oh my goodness, 45-44, the Mustangs survive.
Lots of close games in Class 4 this evening. Pecos 1-1. It's week 5. Just 2 games
I know.
under their belt for the Eagles, taking on Fort Stockton on the road. And these two were district opponents, of course, last year. Eagles off to a hot start. They receive first. And you know what, Ben? They're just going to go ahead and score first, too.
Oh, my goodness.
Eagles,
I like those all-yellow unis.
Get on the board on this no-contest return. This guy's just running down the sideline with 5 different Panthers trailing him. So Pecos, 7-0 to start things off.
Like Bryce Hopple there. So.
But this was also a back-and-forth game. We've seen a lot of those tonight. Dominic Aguilar heaves this one up to Elizar Lopez, pulled down around the 5, and that would set his teammate up nicely on this next play. Panthers score on the following play to make it 7-7. But just wait, Pecos going to take over again. This time hand off to Ezekiel Saldana, runs down the left field line, and he is gone. Pecos makes it 14-7. They retake the lead, so lots of back and forth action here. And again, another close one, a 1-score game, but the Eagles do get the victory. First ones to score, and they end up getting the win, 28-21. Pecos improves to 2-1.
All right, next game, Permian. We're so excited for the 6A teams. Canyon hosting Greenwood. Canyon, number 7 in Class 4A Division 1. So Greenwood fans, keep that in mind as we take this out to Kimbrough. First quarter, Jay DeFore throwing it deep. Look at that. To Joe Shaw. I don't know what they got in the water up there in the Panhandle, but they can make some athletes up there. 2-point conversion. Uh-oh. It's going to be the Canyon special. Joe Shaw to DeFore. The reverse to make it 8-0. But here comes Greenwood. Ty Flowers rolling out to Isaiah Ramirez. Big play for the Rangers. That sets up a first down. That leads to a field goal attempt, but it's blocked by Parker Cunningham. Recovered by Brandel Barrett. And the ensuing drive, another touchdown for Canyon. Canyon all over the Rangers in this game. Let's take a look at this final score. The Rangers shut out on the road, 48-0. But again, very good team there in Canyon.
Monahans on the road visiting Lamesa. Lamesa with a nice victory last week and getting that win in quite dramatic fashion.
Yeah, let's actually take a look at this. This is the final minute of the game. Lamesa trailing with 42 seconds left against Amarillo River Road, and they went to Boise State for this play call. They pulled out the hook and ladder down the sidelines. The Golden Tour scored the touchdown to take the lead. That snapped a 15-game losing streak for the Golden Tour.
And you know, we just liked that play so much, we showed it to you.
We had to show it as many times as we could.
Unfortunately, Golden Tours couldn't get it done with their trickery tonight. 29-8, the final against Monahans. Lobos, second week in a row that they come home with victories,
yes,
if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. You know, Golden Tour, they ran out of ladders, Aaron. All right, Seminole, they're 0-4 looking for their first win of the season, and there we go. Indians on the board, 51-40 win for them over Muleshoe. High-scoring game up there, Northwest Lubbock.
Crane also off to a nice start on the road against Denver City, and the Golden Cranes improved to 3-0 on the season with a 31-21 victory over the Mustangs.
All right, Odessa Compass Academy on the road taking on undefeated Lockney. The Cougars, unfortunately, kept off the scoreboard once again. I believe third shutout of the year for them offensively. Again, the first-year varsity program, Lockney gets the win.
San Angelo TLCA visiting a lot of our 3A schools here in the Basin recently.
Yep.
Taking on Stanton and the Buffs with a monstrous shutout win over the Eagles, 68-0 Stanton.
Big time Buffs. Nicely done. All right, McCamey, I got jumping ahead. The orange and black throws me off every time. Wink on the road taking on SMYER, 52-22 the Wildcats over the Bobcats. 5-0 Wink to start the season.
Quite the start. But here we go. McCamey on the road taking on San Antonio Cole. Badgers get back in the win column after that loss to Forest State last week. I'm sure they feel very relieved about that. And a nice one at that, 41-7, our final. Yeah, that was one of those late additions to the schedule. And speaking of, how about if you don't know what an Angora is, you're not alone. I had to figure that out. Apparently some type of rabbit. But either way, Rock Springs hosting Ira and tonight, and they get the win 54-12 over the Braves. And some big six-man matchups per usual. Borden County getting a win over Water Valley and in very nice and quick fashion, 46-0.
Water Valley, they've had their schedule decimated by COVID-19, so that was just their second game of the year. All right, and speaking of Van Horn, second game of the year for them, taking on Garden City. And, you know, Bearcats started off the year 0-2, making 3 wins in a row for Garden City, defending its home turf 52-32.
Grady looking to get its second win of the season against Meadow, and they're going to do it. Wildcats go on the road, taking on the Broncos, spelled incorrectly here in Odessa, 52-6. Grady gets its second win of the season.
All right, Midland TLCA, another first-year varsity program, taking on the Trent Gorillas, 64-14. The Eagles get the win, traveling out east. And so second win of the year for first-year varsity program.
And then Ben's beloved Klondike Cougars.
Hey, listen, it's not my fault that they're named after a tasty snack.
Taking on Buena Vista, just up the road from here. Longhorns ready for some football action.
Buena Vista off to a really good start this year, by the way. 3-1, I think, surprising for some people.
So here they go after receiving the ball, but after turnovers, Klondike's Josh Mendez is going to take this one for a 30-yard touchdown, making it 8-0. Once again, Buena Vista turns the ball over on downs. Klondike pitch to Mendez for a 15-yard touchdown, making it 14-0. So Cougars on a roll already in Buena Vista. Against Buena Vista, Klondike Jackson Rain throws touchdown to Brian Solis for another Cougar touchdown, 22-0. Extra point would be good. This was the score just at the end of the first quarter, so taking a look at this final. Klondike able to leave this one a little bit early after taking down the Longhorns 50-0. Ben, what did you say Buena Vista's record was?
Now they're 3-2. Klondike 5-0, the number 17 in Division II. All right, Division II versus Division I right here. Sanderson and Fort Davis, the Indians able to pick up the win at home. Both teams 1-2 coming into this one, so the Indians able to move back to 500.
Marfa also looking for its first win of the season against Sierra Blanca, but not going to happen in Week 5. 37-14, our final down in Marfa for the Shorthorns.
All right, and finally, last score of the night, Sands, a big monster win, 72-27. They were winless last year, and they're now 3-2 on the year with that, I believe, Mercy Rule win over the Hornets.
And Calvert taking on Rankin, and this game will be tomorrow. A fun little Saturday matchup that's not college football.
Yes, and a big-time matchup, too. Calvert, number 3 in Division II. Rankin, number 4 in Division I. So if you're looking for some football in person, hey, maybe head out to Red Devil Stadium.
And at the smallest level on Saturday.
It's always a good time with 6-man. Well, we've had lots of exciting games, but some other exciting performances as well. And coming up, we're going to hear which band stood out tonight in the Basin.
And tons of great plays, too, but which one will take home the top honor? Play of the week coming up.
You're watching The Final Score, brought to you by these sponsors.
Well, back here on the best show in the Basin, as we'd like to say, we mentioned the big schools getting on the field, but we always get a big-time effort from the band.
I know, they're one of the best parts. You can always count on them to get it done. They're also really good at pumping up the crowd.
Yeah, I especially, at this point in the show, I could always use a little bit of some pump-up music. So we're going to try to get some help from that from our band of the week, the Andrews Mighty Mustang Band. Well, bravo, the band doing an excellent job setting the tone, always important. Seems to have inspired a good effort out there by the Mustangs, making a lot of good plays.
Yeah, I would say it definitely helps to have the band of the week on your side, but here is our final score play of the week.
All right, well, it looks like we're heading out back to Fort Stockton. Pecos, I think, almost as impressive as the unis for me. The kickoff return right off the get-go for the touchdown. Nicely done. Pecos, a couple kick returns, if I'm not mistaken.
And it's our wonderful reporter, Jian Kim, getting out there and getting those wonderful highlights. Pecos off to a hot start, ended up getting that big win over Fort Stockton tonight, too. So, start off hot like this. That's what you got to do to win.
Oh, yeah, that was Abel Velasquez with our final score play of the week. Well, our last commercial break is coming up, but when we come back, we'll bring you our final thoughts, including a big win for Midland League and our game of the week.
You're watching The Final Score, brought to you by these sponsors.
Well, I'd say the wait was long enough, but you know, one silver lining for the delayed starts to these the season for some of these schools, as we've been talking about, of course, 6A, 5A, and TAPS. We are going to have a little more football later in the year, so get to just push it back. Fortunately, they didn't have to actually shorten those seasons. Yeah,
and as always, we can't wait to see how each of these teams do in action throughout the year, and we're so glad we could finally able to watch them in action this week.
Yeah, and I don't think Midland Lee, they did not, for me, they did not look like a team that was in week one. They looked pretty good, especially that offense, and dare I say, Aaron Reynolds, the Rebels are back, as Coach Hartman likes to say. Jake Eichstead is back with his final thoughts.
Ben, Aaron, welcome back to Grande Communications Stadium. You guys, the Rebs are back. You heard it. Not here first, of course. You've heard it a lot. But tonight you got to see them back in action. The biggest takeaway I took from this game, of course, Mikey Serrano leading that offense both in the air, on the ground. You heard Coach say it, Shamar Davis having 100 yards, Mikhail having another about $150. And then when Mikey goes down, they just put in Shamar Davis at quarterback, and it seems like their offense doesn't miss a beat. This is a scary Rebels team for anybody in their path, especially Tascosa next week. Ben, Aaron, back to you.
Yeah, another tough team there taking on Tascosa. This is going to be no joke for Midland Lee.
But, Aaron, former district opponent.
Yeah, former district opponent. So, the Battle of the Rebels once again. What was on your radar tonight?
You know, our 4A teams have just really surprised me throughout this whole year, and I think this Pecos Fort Stockton game is a prime example of that.
Yes.
Panthers obviously wanting a much needed victory, but the Eagles, as you guys can see on your screen, started off hot with this kickoff return, ended up winning by 1 score. So Pecos ended the season well last year, getting off to a nice 2-1 start to start off the 2020 season as well.
I've been impressed too how their offense has done, playing as sporadically as they have, just their 3rd game of the year, and they've put up points in pretty much every one of their games so far.
Got that big offensive line.
That certainly helps. I would say, for me, I have my eye on the Midland Christian Mustangs. You want to talk about a team playing sporadically. I guess they're practicing sporadically, but finally getting to take on a team that's been out there for 4 weeks, the Wall Hawks, and they're the number 3 team in 3A Division I. Now listen, you know, it's tough to gauge UIL and TAPS in terms of apples and oranges with classifications and alignment, but Midland Christian, that's a good team at Wall no matter how you slice it. For them to come out like they did and really dominate, I was really impressed to see what they did. Coach Mack and the crew there at Midland Christian. Well, even with this show, it's coming to an end, but there's always more time for us to talk football. Believe it. We could talk all day, folks. We do have one opportunity where we do that on Final Score Overtime. It's our digital exclusive show. We break down the past games. We announce our game of the week. That's every week on our website, yourbasin.com. That's going to do it for week 5 or 1, depending how you look on it. For Aaron Reynolds, I'm Ben Peck. We'll see you next Friday.